JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. January 28th, 2025. This Tuesday, 8:57 in the morning. Talk really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at, go from there. S&P futures, NASDAQ, all look to bounce this morning. Not too much considering the big over 3% move to the downside yesterday in the NASDAQ. Kind of interesting. So it's we'll have to see how the next few days play out. If this DeepSeek thing was just a I would call it a one-hit wonder, but all the headlines you can read with the biggest market capitalization loss in history. NVIDIA lost nearly 600 billion in valuation, uh, and then it just all those the big dollar headlines come out, right? And we'll see how this all turns out. And everybody's hopping in with their opinions of how this all impacts. But again, I keep in the back of my head, I keep thinking how this, like that DeepSeek was out there for a while. So it's like mind, it just how one day it just all came to a head, right? To that point. And I think there is a lot of ramifications if there is some truth to the fact that they can do the same or better AI with less power, less chip power, right? So which would mean NVIDIA's pricing power is not going to be as strong in their margins. And then I think on the flip side, you look at the other names, like the mega cap names that have been spending on horsepower for AI, and Meta and Google and all those names. They're either, and I put on the watch list, there's going to be two scenarios. Well, actually, maybe both, right? They either they cost less, they scale back infrastructure, or a combination of both. And both you would think would be bullish for AI and Meta if this all plays out. But we have more things on the horizon. Earnings picking up. ASML, I think, is tomorrow morning, right? And then after the close tomorrow, we have Meta, Microsoft. Those will be definitely much more important earnings. We have the Fed at 2:30 tomorrow. So maybe this DeepSeek thing will start taking a little backseat, and then we can focus on the earnings season, which I think is going to be very important now. So good sign yesterday. SPY held that 50-day moving average at 595.48. Bounced right up near 600 into the close. Closed right at 599.37. And then we were gapping at 602, pulled back this morning. Excuse me. And we're right here at 600. So maybe some consolidation here. I think that'll bode well if we can get some consolidation here. And then maybe we start to melt higher. No surprise on earnings tomorrow, and I think maybe we can get back to business as usual. I think it'd be a good thing. Also, I always try to look at silver linings yesterday, and yields continue to fall. And I was mentioning yesterday, I think there's got to start looking at some names that are going to benefit from lower yields. And we saw that back in September when I was all over Redfin. That went on a monster tear. I'm not sure if it'll be deja vu with Redfin, but one of my top 5 stocks for 2025 is Swim, which is pools. I'll talk about that in a second. But as rates come down, you have homeowners are more apt to do either renovations or other things that have been holding back on, which obviously would be home sales, home buying, home sales, and then possibly pool installations, things like that. So that's the overall market. So then individual names. So 2 names yesterday. Like I was saying on the Rant yesterday afternoon, I'd seen a future Sunday night, and then Monday morning, I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be a rough session. And then Adobe was 422 at the open, boom, rallied all the way up to I think it was 445 by about 11:30. And then of course it does its patented $11 reversal, but it still closed at 438.60. I used the move in the morning to close some of my calls out for 100% to cover costs. I held the rest. Again, we have Meta, Microsoft after the close tomorrow, so that certainly could either put a spur back in the tech names, or not. I think the former. So I'll continue to hold the rest of those Adobe calls into tomorrow, pending any crazy sell off today. Is gapping down a little bit here this morning. I don't know if there's any meat to that. Then Baidu. So Baidu, again, another name, was gapping this morning on the DeepSeek news. Some of it, I guess. And then I think any positive sentiment on Baidu is going to cause the stock to head higher. It was up near 91 here in the pre-market, but I was able to close some of my calls out for 100%. And then as it was rallying in the morning, my calls were up over 400%. I tried to put an order in, it did fill, I pulled it. I think 92 is the big spot on Baidu. So you take a look, that's the 200-day moving average is 91.99. So if it gets over that, I think it's off to the races. I might look for some strikes into next week. My thoughts here on Baidu. It's had these moves over the last year and a half where it takes off, and it's not just a $5 move. It's a $10, $15, $20 move, and then it gives it all back. And then one of these rallies in Baidu will be the rally that takes off, right? Which it hasn't happened yet. So that's Baidu. Then individual, some other names. Roku, not much doing yesterday, down 1%. I was saying on the rant yesterday afternoon too. If I do get some more strikes, it'll be the February 21st, possibly the 105s. The premiums come down. TripAdvisor, kind of a choppy session yesterday. Was all the way up at 1803, dipped all the way back down, and then reversed course into the afternoon to close back in the green. Well, flat pretty much. Premium is still good. The calls are up. My October, my March and June strikes are still up over 100%. So I'll hold those. But at some point, I might look to scale back. And I've been saying maybe the June strikes. Caterpillar, I think Tejans was mentioned in the chat room yesterday, but it was taking a big hit yesterday, down 3%. That's despite the Dow was up in the green yesterday. But you look at the calls, it reports earnings 6 o'clock Thursday morning, and some of the out on one day strikes are down 75%, just on a 3% down move. So I don't know if there was some selling in the option market. I don't know what caused the premiums to get eroded that much, but could be an opportunity for at least some premium build into earnings. So maybe some calls today, hold them through tomorrow and lock some in tomorrow if they go up. If you lock some or all in, or if you lock some in for 100% to cover costs, ride the rest, because you have to think Caterpillar earnings are going to be strong. MDB. So I'm staring there, looking at Adobe and Baidu trying to manage those positions, and then MDB was taking off. I mean, it was at 255 at the open. Another name was gapping lower, and then also just took off by 10:30. It was 277. So almost a 10% move in a matter of an hour. By that time, the premiums were too expensive. I was looking in the afternoon. I'm looking again this morning, and premiums still even up to 290 on a weekly basis look pretty expensive. Microsoft will have their cloud numbers, right? So I don't know how much that's going to move names like Snow and ESTC and MDB, but certainly could be some that you could see a solid sympathy move if some strong numbers. So I don't know if I'll get some spec calls. I might look to get some calls today if it holds here at 266 or so, depending on the premiums, but definitely a name I'm watching. And then last but not least, Swim. And take a look at the move yesterday, only up 5%, but it's looked strong, right, to break out. I mean, it's been slowly melting to the upside. Lower rates, I think, bodes well. And this is a name, I think it's kind of like been on a turnaround. The pool industry as a whole has been rough after the COVID boom. Then you saw a slowdown, then rates were rising. People, so it just was kind of like a snowball. And now it's like the snow is melting. The rates are going down. People, I think, at the point where, I think it's going to be a good year for, at least for renovations and pools. So I look at Swim, and pool's another name, but pool's bounced quite a bit already so far this year. So I'll probably pass on that one. Buffett has a stake in that one as well. I think that's it, folks. I'm trying to gold. I was looking at gold GLD puts yesterday. It was down already a percent, and I didn't want to chase. You'll see it up here back at 27.55. If it gets another chance to get to 28, it doesn't break. That'll be the big signal to get some puts on gold. I was trying to think of some of the other things I was looking at. I think that's it for now, folks. Yep. All right. Let's have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.